What the fuck you doing in there, you prick?
A Pizza vs. Studios original documentary. Haunted America, The Ghost That Never Left. Produced by Bambi Palermo and the Pizzaverse. Every ghost's got an address. You ever drive through a small town at 2 in the morning? Street lamps humming, gas stations closed, nobody walking. Just that quiet that feels wrong. That's when you start thinking about the stuff this country's built on. Not the flags and fireworks, the dirt. Under every church steeple and every Walmart parking lot, there's something we never dealt with. A scream, a secret, a sin nobody confessed. And let me tell you something, sweetheart. America's young, but she's already haunted like an old dive bar. Tonight, we're taking a ride coast to coast through 6 addresses the travel brochures don't print. Places where history didn't die, it just kept paying rent. Some of these stories got blood in them. Some got guilt. All of them got ghosts. So buckle up. This ain't no campfire tale. This is Haunted America, The Ghost That Never Left. Eastern State Penitentiary, the Prison of Silence. Philadelphia, 1829. The city of brotherly love, right? Yeah, tell that to the guys they locked inside this gothic nightmare. Eastern State Penitentiary. They said it was revolutionary, rehabilitation through isolation. 1 man per cell, 23 hours a day alone with his conscience and a Bible. You ever sit with your thoughts too long? Imagine doing that for years in a room cold enough to freeze your prayers. They thought silence would bring them closer to God. Instead, it introduced them to something else entirely. Guards used to whisper about the screams, started as muttering, then sobbing, then that animal howl when a mind finally snaps. One guy, Charles Williams, first poor bastard they booked, they say he used to bang his head on the wall just to feel something. By the time they dragged him out, he wasn't talking to anyone human. Over 100 years this place ran. Capone did a stretch here. Yeah, that Capone. Even the big shots heard the whispers in the pipes. He used to beg guards to leave the light on. When it finally shut down in 1971, they figured the ghost would retire too. Guess what? They didn't punch out. Night watchmen still hear keys jingling when nobody's on shift. Visitors get shoved, breathed on, called by name. Infrared cameras pick up shadows taller than any man. They say the worst spot's cell block 12, cold pockets growling in the dark. A figure in a hood walks past, then poof, gone. You ask me, this joint ain't haunted because of what happened here. It's haunted because of what didn't. No forgiveness, no closure, just men rotting in their own thoughts. Every brick soaks that up, and bricks remember. Some nights the tour guides shut down early. They don't say why, but you can see it in their faces. That look of people who just heard something breath behind them. Eastern State ain't a museum, kid. It's a confession booth that never stops listening. And that's just stop number 1. 1 prison, 8 acres, 100 years of guilt echoing like it's got nowhere else to go. You think you're ready for what's next? Good. Next up, a house where the mirrors look back. Myrtles Plantation, the mirror that remembers. Head south long enough and the air changes. Gets heavy, like it's holding secrets. Down here, the past don't stay buried. It hangs in the moss and whispers through the magnolias. St. Francisville, Louisiana, 1796. They call it the Myrtles Plantation, but that's just the polite name. Locals call it the house that breathes. It's one of them postcard-perfect places. White columns, wraparound porch, Spanish moss dripping like cobwebs from heaven. But if you listen real close, you'll hear something underneath the cicadas, a woman humming. Off-key, faint, always the same tune. They say her name was Chloe. She was owned by the Woodruffs, or maybe she owned their attention, depending who tells it. Pretty thing, smart, kept her ear to the parlor doors. Got caught listening once. They say the master clipped her ear clean off. She wore a green turban after that to hide the scar. Now some folks say revenge is a man's game. Chloe proved otherwise. She baked a birthday cake with a little extra spice. Oleander leaves, poisonous as sin. Meant to make the family sick, not kill them, just enough to win back sympathy. But the line between oops and murder gets blurry when pride's involved. Mama, 2 kids, gone before sunset. Sound, chair knocks over, distant child crying fades. The others found Chloe and hung her from the nearest tree. No trial, no priest, just anger. Left her body swing until the next storm cut her down. Rain begins. And after that, people started seeing her, the woman in the green turban, walking the veranda when the moon hits just right. But the real curse ain't her ghost, it's the mirror, old Victorian glass hanging in the main hallway. After the murders, they forgot to cover it. And in the old ways, you always cover a mirror when someone dies, so the soul don't get trapped looking back. They say the mirror's still got fingerprints that don't wipe off. Faces show up that don't belong to anyone alive. And sometimes if you stare too long, the reflection blinks before you do. Beat. You know what's funny? Every tour guide's got the same line. This house has seen 13 ghosts. But you watch their eyes when they pass that mirror. They all skip breath on the same step. Shakuri, soft thunder. See, down here, hauntings ain't about shock value. They're about memory. Every injustice, every scream, every drop of guilt, this heat soaks it in like syrup. The Myrtles ain't just haunted, it's homesick for the truth. And Chloe? Maybe she's not the villain. Maybe she's the only one in that story still telling it straight. So next time somebody sells you Southern Charm, remember? The sugar's just to hide the poison. All right, kids, we've had silence, we've had sorrow, now we're going someplace where hope itself was a scam. Next stop, Arkansas, a hotel so fancy even death checked in twice. Crescent Hotel, the hospital of hope and hell, Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Town looks like a postcard. Limestone cliffs, gingerbread houses, little cafes selling pie and forgiveness. But up on the hill, sitting like a crown on a corpse, there's a beast called the Crescent Hotel. Built 1886, back when money smelled like bourbon and the cure for anything was more money. They called it the Palace of the Ozarks. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, the kind of joint where you expected Gatsby to pop out of the elevator and ask for a light. Then the Great Depression hit. The lights dimmed, the laughter died, and the palace went looking for a new king. And the Crescent collects interest daily. The locals say the spirits in the basement aren't angry anymore. They're waiting for someone to remember their real names, not their patient numbers. So next time you book a luxury getaway, kids, maybe skip the spa that used to be a morgue. All right, we've done penitence, poison, and false prophets. Now we head north again, Cleveland. Big house, big secrets, or small graves. Franklin Castle's next on the itinerary, and trust me, the walls there talk louder than the people ever did. Franklin Castle, the house that keeps its secrets. Cleveland, Ohio. City's got muscle pride still in its bones. But down on Franklin Boulevard, there's one house that never fit the neighborhood. A gray stone fortress people whisper about like it's listening. They call it Franklin Castle. Built 1883 for a German banker named Hans Tiedemann. 4 stories, 20 rooms, carved oak, stained glass, money practically dripping from the rafters. The guy built it to show the world he'd made it. What he didn't know was he was building his own mausoleum. Within a few years, his daughter died. Then his mother. Then another child. Each funeral smaller than the last, each one leaving the house a little colder. They say Hans kept building. Added turrets, tunnels, secret doors, like he was trying to outbuild the grief. Workers talked about new passages showing up overnight, stairways that went nowhere. He said they were for ventilation. Nobody believed him. After Hans died, owners came and went. Every one of them swore the place breathed on its own. Doors slamming, organ playing in the attic when no organ was ever found. One couple heard a baby crying behind a wall. They opened it up and found nothing but dust. See, Franklin Castle ain't your cheap horror movie haunt. It's grief with architecture. Every brick's a memory Hans tried to hide. Every corridor's another what if he couldn't face. Paranormal crews love the joint. Infrared cameras, EVP recorders, the whole circus. They all get the same thing. Cold spots near the nursery, whispers in German, a shadow on the landing shaped like a man who still doesn't know he's dead. You stand in that house long enough, you start thinking about your own ghosts. The things you built walls around instead of burying. That's why Franklin Castle works, kid. It don't just haunt you. It makes you confess. Next up, we head west into the cornfields of Iowa. To a little white house that looks ordinary until you remember what happened inside. 8 people went to bed one summer night in 1912, and nobody woke up. Villisca Axe Murder House, 8 sleeps, no dawn. Villisca, Iowa. Small town, quiet streets, nice folks. You know the type. Everyone waves, doors unlocked, pie cooling on the windowsill. But underneath that Norman Rockwell smile, something ugly was waiting. June 10th, 1912. A Sunday night. Josiah and Sarah Moore, their 4 kids and 2 neighbor girls tuck in after church. Oil lamps out, curtains drawn. My next morning? 8 people dead. All killed with Josiah's own axe. Every face covered with a sheet, every mirror draped. The killer sat downstairs after, ate a plate of bacon and eggs, then vanished into the dawn like smoke. No fingerprints, no motive, no footprints in the dew. They dragged half the town through court. Preachers, drifters, jealous husbands. But nobody ever paid for what happened. The only thing that stayed was the fear. Years later, the house got boarded up. Locals crossed the street to avoid it. Kids dared each other to knock on the door and run. Most didn't make it past the porch. Then came the investigators, the ghost hunters, the skeptics, the true believers. They brought their fancy equipment and their brave talk. Almost all of them left pale. Some didn't last an hour. They say the upstairs bedrooms are still thick with something heavy. EVP recordings catch a woman whispering prayers. A man's voice saying, "Get out." One crew even caught the sound of an axe dragging across wood. But here's the thing, kids. I don't think the evil's in the walls. I think it's in the story itself. Because what haunts Villisca ain't just ghosts. It's the not knowing. It's a whole town that had to eat breakfast next to an unsolved massacre and pretend life went on. You stand in that house long enough, the quiet gets under your skin. The air feels crowded, like someone's leaning over your shoulder waiting for you to blink. You swear you can hear a chair move in the kitchen or footsteps on the stairs that stop just short of the landing. Every room smells faintly of iron, like old blood or rust or maybe memory. The current owners rent the place out overnight. They say it's for research, but I think it's for confession. Everyone who spends the night there learns the same thing. You can't sleep next to tragedy and expect peace. You ever been somewhere so quiet that the quiet starts talking? That's Villisca. 8 sleeps, no dawn, and every sunrise since has been trying to make up for it. All right, wipe the sweat off your palms, kid. We got one more stop before we close the book. A house out in California where justice and damnation share the same address. The Whaley House, Justice and Damnation, San Diego, California. You pull up to Old Town and it looks like a tourist postcard. Kids licking ice cream, mariachi on the corner, sunlight bouncing off stucco walls. But every paradise has got its shadow, and this one's shaped like a two-story adobe house with green shutters. The locals call it the Whaley House, built 1850. Thomas Whaley was a businessman, smart, proud, stubborn, the kind of guy who thought he could outbuild bad luck. Problem is, he built his dream home right on top of a gallows. 5 years earlier, a drifter named Yankee Jim Robinson swung right there. They say it took 3 minutes for him to die, and half the town came out to watch. When Whaley laid his foundation, the cement hadn't even dried over the dirt that soaked up Yankee Jim. He said, "It's just land, yeah, land with a memory." At first, life was good. Store downstairs, family upstairs, Sunday dinners and music on the porch. Then the laughter thinned out. A fire took part of the house. One of his kids died of scarlet fever. His daughter Violet put a bullet in herself after a bad marriage and left a note that said, "Mad from disappointment." After that, the Whaleys stopped hosting dinner parties. They just listened to the footsteps no one could explain. Tourists today swear the place is crowded, but you can stand there alone. Perfume hangs in empty rooms, windows open by themselves. Sometimes a shadow swings from the ceiling beam, slow and gentle, like somebody's rehearsing their last breath. You stand in the parlor long enough and you'll hear it. The sound of boots on the staircase, a man laughing under his breath, low and smug. That's Yankee Jim, they say, still taking his revenge one footstep at a time. See, the Whaley House ain't just haunted, it's poetic. A family builds a home over a public execution and ends up executing themselves in little pieces. That's America right there. We pave over our sins and call it progress. Every psychic, every historian, every thrill seeker comes here looking for proof. But the truth's simpler. It's the sound of consequences that never learned how to fade. That's the music of this country, kid. It's jazz played by the dead. You walk out of that house and the sun hits you, and for a second you forget where you just were. Then the wind shifts, and you swear you smell gunpowder and lilac. That's Violet saying goodbye. 6 stops. 6 stories. And not one of them really over. Eastern States is still humming. Chloe's still watching the mirror. The Crescent's still counting its jars. Hans Tiedemann's still building rooms he don't need. Villisca's still holding its breath. And the Whaleys, they're still listening to the Rope Creek. Maybe ghosts ain't here to scare us. Maybe they're the country's conscience, reminding us what we buried to get this far. So the next time you drive through a quiet town at 2 a.m. and the lights start flickering, don't speed up. Listen. You might just hear history clearing its throat. America, the Ghost That Never Left. A Bambi Palermo production from Pizzaverse Studios. If this one gave you chills, smash that subscribe like it owes you protection money. Ring the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. And drop a comment telling me which ghost you'd buy a drink, if you could. Nah, weeks, because in the Pizzaverse, kid, we don't chase ghosts, we host them. Pizzaverse, where legends never die. Thanks for watching.
When I go into that ground, I won't go quietly, I'm bringing my crown. When I go into that ground, oh, they gotta bury me face down. thinking that they're gonna harm me, saying that I'll never get free. Oh, I got troubles, they won't let me be. But I won't get tired, set the town on fire till my troubles got trouble with me. Thinking that they've won, it's only just begun. When I go into that ground, I won't go quietly, I'm bringing my crown. And when I go into that ground, oh, they gotta bury me face down. I've been on the run since I was a boy, but now I'm done running, got another thing coming. Watch my enemies get destroyed. Oh, I got troubles of more than one kind, but I never sleep, gotta bury me 6 feet deep where the sun don't shine. Thinking that they've won, it's only just begun. When I go into that ground, I won't go quietly, I'm bringing my crown. And when I go into that ground, oh, they gotta bury me face down. I've been counted out, left for dead, wanted with a bounty on my head. But somehow, someway, I'ma keep moving along, moving along. Been counted out, left for dead, wanted with a bounty on my head. But somehow, someway, I'ma keep moving along, along. Thinking that they've won, it's only just begun. When I go into that ground, I won't go quietly, I'm bringing my crown. And when I go into that ground, oh, they gotta bury me face down. Oh, they gotta bury me face down.